party started.
Sounds like a plan.
Welcome, everybody. Episode 5. Here we are at Talk Around Town.
That's awesome.
How we doing, Scott?
I'm doing well. How you, Geoff?
Just fine, thanks. This will be coming out on New Year's Day.
Yeah, New Year's Day. Man, the year is over. Thank goodness.
Oh, finally it's over.
Yes. Let's move on to 2021. Let's make 2021 a better year. How about that?
Oh, please. I mean, I don't want to say can it get any worse because who knows what would happen, but...
Yeah. And we're going to lose the excuse, well, it's 2020. I used to say that about everything that went wrong this year, but, now we're going to lose that excuse. Let's hope it turns the corner here and gets better. I'm glad to see that we are at least see some music stuff ramping up here and there and some other countries. I noticed some concerts and that going on, so big concerts, so maybe that's a good sign.
It's coming around. I mean, everything is starting to open up. Of course, we traveled over Christmas and everything, and we were down in Texas, and a lot was open down there. I mean, of course, everybody had to wear a mask and everything, and they did limit some of the stores that you're going into. They would count and see how many people are going in and out, but for the most part, you were kind of free. And then we stopped in St. Louis to see my boys on the way back, and you couldn't eat inside. It is still outdoor dining. Luckily, one of the days that we were there, it was relatively warm, so when you're sitting even underneath the heaters on the sidewalk, you're only mildly freezing instead of
mildly freezing. There you go.
So,
well, it's an interesting time with the difference in just a few states away, and Texas a long way away, obviously, but Indiana. I'm seeing some gigs coming in to my show that we're going to announce this week that are, they're playing till 2 a.m. in Indiana.
I know. I think we might have to start venturing that way.
Ohio's closing the doors, at 10 o'clock. So that's still going on, apparently. I don't know. It's just, it's wild. When I was in Tennessee recently, it's like the COVID didn't exist where I was. I mean, everything was open. Everybody was just packing into places. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but, it was interesting to see the difference in what a difference a state makes, I guess,
I know. So.
And, our governor will either come out a hero or a zero. I've always said that, one or the other. He's going to be the guy that saved a bunch of people, or he's going to be the guy that everybody hates because their business failed. And I don't know. It's a hard thing, and I don't want to talk about that all day. That's depressing.
It is depressing. So let's on to happier things. How did you do for Christmas?
Yeah,
did you get any goodies?
Oh, yes. I had some fun at Christmas. I got some fun things and got a few, items in the old studio we'll talk about. But Christmas was fun for us. And what was the most fun is, I've got a little granddaughter, and watching her open her gifts and get so excited about them. And we got a chance to FaceTime with our son that's in Alaska. He's in the Army in Alaska, and his fiance. And she has a boy, Liam, who's about 6 years old, and I got to see him open his gifts, and just some fun stuff there. That makes my heart warm. I don't care what I get. In a lot of ways, it's about the kids and the grandkids now, and that's always the fun part of it.
Oh, I know. I got 2 little nephews now. One's around 6 months, and the other's around 13, and to see some of the toys that they got that they just love, even the 6-month-old, who really is somewhat oblivious to what's going on, just loving a couple of the things that they got, and that even their mom said, I've never seen him smile at a toy until this one. So, that's great. And then the teenagers, of course they all love their gifts, but we did get to, they pick out mostly what they want, and we just kind of get it. And a few things we surprised them with. I surprised my youngest, who's going to be 15 here soon, with a guitar that I got. It was my first electric guitar. I bought it used, but I had it cleaned up and set up all nice, and gave him that, and then bought him a little practice amp that he can use headphones with. He was floored, and just to see that look on his face, when he got that. So,
that's cool. So, the future of the next generation of Route 88.
That's true.
Right there. You know how it is. It's like Earth, Wind, and Fire, man. They've handed it down over the years to the next generation, and they're still going strong, and that'd be fun. especially when you get them up and play. I've had a chance to see you sing with Maddie, and that's cool. I mean, I think that's fun stuff. Chris Schultz sings with his daughter sometimes. Rick Allen's doing that right now, and I think it's fun to see that with the kids getting into the music scene with you
Oh, I
guys.
love it. He was going to actually play with us. He plays drums as well, Gabe, and he was going to play with us at a show and didn't get to rehearse with us before, and so I was kind of a little leery, and the guys were kind of leery, but he loves the '80s stuff. He listens to Poison and Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue, and he'll play that all day long. So
And that's a kid after my own heart, right
14
there.
years old and just loving the
That's
80s.
awesome.
So
That's
but,
cool. That is so cool. Well, I'll talk about my Christmas stuff in a minute, but I want to know what what Geoff Edwards get
oh
for
man,
Christmas. Anything that's
I gotta say,
a
I
big
think
win?
it was a very big win. I got a great wife. She's bought me all kinds of goodies before. She's gotten me microphones in the past and different things, but this year she got me a 1965 Gibson 15 RVT. And it is beautiful. I mean, it looks like it just came off the showroom floor. Immaculate condition,
Really?
all tubes. I mean, it just sounds
Wow.
original foot switch, everything. I mean,
From
from
1965.
1965.
That was before you were born,
10
wasn't it,
years
Geoff?
before I was born. But it sounds so incredible.
Yeah.
I've got a
Oh my
1965
gosh.
little Gibson 5-watt Skylark that I play out, had it custom made, and that one, when I got it, the cabinet was destroyed, the speaker was trash, so I had Rob, my guitarist from Route 88. He does speaker work. That's what he does, recones, and he'll also make cabinets and different things. And he made me a little head combo and put the took it all apart and made it a head and then a separate cabinet and everything. And I'll play out with that thing.
Wow.
It sounds great. And now I got this beast, which is just sounds just as great. So thanks to my wife
Awesome.
on that one. She always pulls out the good toys. So
Well, that's awesome. Good job on her part,
I
right?
know, right?
Yeah.
So
She knows you too. She knows the electronics lead to the heart.
this is true. So
Yeah, same in my house. I want to mention too. I did get a chance to hear you guys play the other night at Mr. Burroughs Tavern when you were there, and just want to give you a big shout out for a great show.
I appreciate it.
Spent the whole night there for the whole show. Finally, you didn't leave in the first hour like you always give me crap about. But I got a chance to hear your full set, and you guys added some neat stuff. The one song you added. From the Ides of March was a cool one. The song called
Oh
Vehicle,
yeah.
and that was a fun addition that you guys hadn't played out much.
That was the
And you
first
have to
time actually I think we have ever played that.
give Lindsay a shout out for his outfit too, man. That was
Oh
one of the
yeah, he
most.
showed up in full force with his tie and suit jacket and everything like that.
He was channeling his inner Clark Griswold there, I
So
think, or something. It's
definitely.
cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
So
glad you got to stick
yeah,
around.
so
Normally you roll out so quickly, and then when you stuck around after the
well,
second set, you're like, I'm tired of going places. So it was good to see you hang out.
I am. It's hard, and it almost makes me feel rude because I come in and I want to hear the bands but there are so many of them playing, and on any given night, there's so many of them just within a small proximity of where we are, and I feel like, oh, I want to catch a set of this one, a set of that one. I used to do that, go two places in a night, but the bands were playing till 1 o'clock, or 2 o'clock, and I
Right.
had the opportunity to split that night, and it's hard now. So I've just decided I'm going to just try to give one band my all for the night and watch and be able to report on it on the show and do some fun stuff. Got a chance to hear a really good band this past weekend. On Saturday, got a chance to hear the Hanky Panks, Kevin Cooper out of Cincinnati, and Brian Brian Hanky Panks, as they call him, the lead singer. It's a great show, comedy kind of show, along with the great music. And Kevin Cooper's brother brought him a guitar for Christmas, and he brought it in. He drove from Indiana, and it was custom made. His brother makes guitars,
Oh,
and this was
nice.
made out of ash wood with a maple neck, and forget the wood he used on the fretboard, but custom. And it said up on the neck, it said Cooper Guitars on it, and so. I mean, talk about a neat present for Christmas. So he played it for a couple songs. He needed to get it dialed in a little bit and work on it more before he played a whole show with it. But what a great gift, man! A custom made guitar by your own brother.
I know, man. That's awesome.
Pretty cool. So yeah, and I got some good stuff, and my wife bought me a new little PA that I'm going to use when I'm doing some of my hosting events and trivia and things like that. It's a little line array system, and I tried one out a couple weeks ago, and it's made by a company called LD, and they're called Maui's, the Maui system, and it's basically like your Bose Compact or your Bose L1 system that's got the line array on top and then the sub at the bottom, and boy, does it sound great. And the thing, I've never used that when I've done like my trivia events or any, but Geoff, it amazed me at the amount of sound it put out. And you could be up front next to it, and it was just as loud in the back of the room with that line array system. I've never ever used that, and I've done big shows with the big line arrays hanging and everything, but the array system on this little thing blew me away. I mean, you don't have to push it hard, and it fills the whole room. And one cabinet or one little speaker there, one tower, covers like all of Mr. Burroughs and that. So I was thrilled.
Yeah, it's nice having those things because you just kind of set it up and then it sprays the sound out everywhere. So those little things are great and convenient.
And boy, is it much lighter to carry and load in and load out, because to me, that's the worst part of the job, is the back-breaking part. I'm only using like QSC K12s, but I'm still throwing them up on a stand and taking them down and bagging them and doing all that stuff at the end of every show. And it takes some time, and it's hard on the back.
Hard on the back, and it's multiple cables, and then you're filling up your vehicle with all this stuff, and it's in and out and in and out.
This little system that I haven't bought it yet. My wife bought it for me for Christmas. We haven't ordered it yet, but we're gonna, and we'll be playing with that. It was nice enough for this gentleman to let me borrow one for a couple weeks to try it out before I purchased it, which is hard to do sometimes, and got to do a trial run. So it was good stuff. And I've got a lot of stuff in the studio here that we keep adding to. If we're talking gear, maybe I'll take a minute.
Yeah, what do you use there?
Chat about that. Well, I've got actually three boards in here. Behind me is a PreSonus board I use for doing some voiceover work, because it's so digitally clear, and I like it a lot, and I can do a lot of things with it. And I use that on the voiceover side when I'm doing voiceovers for commercials and different things. But I have a Mackie board, which I started with to do my podcast, which is a Pro FX, what's this one? 16 channel board with all kinds of cabling and this and that. I've got mix minuses run in so I can run a cell phone into it and actually do interviews, and they couldn't hear themselves and all that falderall. But I recently purchased the most cool device, and it's called a Rodecaster, and it's basically made for podcast work. It's got banks of sound effects you can put in it, or you can load songs in it. You can do anything basically on these little push button or hotkeys. And it's got 4 microphone inputs. It's got a we got a USB input, and it's got a cell phone input that you can go with a direct line in, or Bluetooth, and you can Bluetooth a phone into it or a device. So it's fairly simplistic, but on the other hand, it's also very advanced when it comes to podcasting, because again, I can do a 4-person interview on this thing, plus add phone interviews, Skype, whatever you want to do. And the thing has crystal clear clarity. And I go to the microphone input and I push a button and I can pick what kind of mic I'm using. And it's got all these different mics loaded in for the best quality sound on them. So I'm using a Heil PR40 here in front of me. And it's a pretty high-end mic, and it works fine there. Or I can go to a cheap little $99 mic, and it makes it sound fantastic. So I'm a little bitter that I bought a $400 microphone when the $99 microphone sounds just as good.
And you just type in whatever it is and load it up and set it.
It's all
and
on
it
a screen.
EQs it out for you.
Yeah. And I mean, you can pick, and I mean, I can tell you here real quick, it's really kind of cool. Some of the options that are available on each channel. And if I go to the channel like the microphone, I can pick all the Rode products, RODE products of microphones. Electro Voice, Heil, whether it's a condenser mic or a dynamic mic. If you want to use your own, you can, you got Shure 58s. So you select those and it gives you this great sound quality, and then you can tweak it from there that you want to do. But even on the voice side, strength and tone, and I can go with the booming, radio announcer voice, or I can go with just the regular let's talk like we're doing on here voice today, and does a lot of really cool
Nice.
stuff. So, and it's got headphone outputs for each channel, so the people you're doing the interview with can wear headsets. It's got the ability you can plug in and do the mic'd headsets if you want to use them, like if you're doing sports casting. It's a great mobile device to take places.
Not real big
so
either,
that's
is it?
kind of no, it's about the size of a
Wow.
laptop, a large laptop, and just so far so good with it, and the ability to do hot cue buttons and play things. It's got a variety of sound effects that are preloaded, and then you've heard me play some of the songs that we've played out there
Right.
before, and I can load them in. So just tons of stuff, and I love the sound effects, like
We have a winner.
things like that we play with on our show
Right.
quite a bit. And so good stuff, man. And I mean, I've got a studio full of, as my wife calls it, my sound
Right.
crap, but you just accumulate this stuff and PA stuff, and especially when I go mobile or go remote location with things, this stuff works out great. I can pack that little Rodecaster in a Pelican case and take it with me, and a few light stands and set up, and you're ready to go.
Right. I don't have
So-
quite as much in here. I did actually just get some new studio stuff so I could start recording. Got a pair of matched pair of little SE condensers for recording like acoustic guitars or drums overhead or whatever. This mic here is a little AKG 214. That was the first studio mic I ever bought, and I've recorded several things with it. It works great for just, vocals, and you want to mic a guitar with that too. That thing sounds great. So,
Oh yeah.
got a couple
Tell
other
us.
little studio mics here, and then the board actually I'm using now, I'm just using a little Scarlett 2i2 for this, but I've also got the XR18, which I don't know if you've ever used one of those. That thing's fantastic. You can
Yes.
you'll see when we play with Route 88, we've all got tablets on our mic stands, and we don't use any floor monitors. We all wear ears, and so we can just sit there. We each have our own ears, and we can just dial in, whatever we want to hear in the middle of a show. Somebody turns up a little bit too much, or there's a little bit too much boost, I can reach over and just pull them down a tiny bit. And then what?
Right. And you're not saying to the sound guy, hey, I need more of this in my
Nope.
monitor and all that stuff.
You could just reach down and just give it a little quick tweak and turn it down and turn it up, and I need to hear a little more of this, because that's the one thing that we do in Route 88. Rob and Lindsay switch, so Rob will switch to bass and Lindsay will play some guitar for a little while. And sometimes when Rob switches, oftentimes he's still running through the same channel. So when he throws that bass on, I don't need to hear that much bass. That's a lot. And typically I can hear it because we actually bring a sub for that. And so I'll crank him all the way down when that comes on, and then crank him all the way. And I don't have to say anything to a sound guy. And try to get the sound guy's attention when you're standing there for 10 minutes going, hey, without talking over the microphone, to let everybody in the house know, oh, he's not hearing something, or what, try to get the sound guy's attention, and they're talking to somebody or getting a drink.
Exactly.
So, but it's nice because you can walk around with, an iPad or whatever and dial the sound in. How does it sound up close? And how does it sound way in the back of the house? And how does it sound in the middle? And is everything good? So that's a great thing, that little...
And you're using the XR18
Yes.
for that when you guys are...
Yeah, and then what...
I used to own an X32 rack mountable X32, and I played with it a lot. And then I sold it actually to Mick Blankenship, who uses it for his ears. That's the whole. They're using that for the big rock band stuff and all their ears and other items on stage and everything. But I like that device. I think it's really good. The 32. I just happened to stumble upon one day that I got at a good price, but I would go with the 18 if I were running a band like yours. I think it's plenty.
Yeah, the nice thing about this, I mean, they also have a 16, but the nice thing about the 18 is it's got 6 aux outs and they're all XLRs. So where if you go down a notch, they're all just quarter inch. So then you, depending on what kind of, whatever you're running, quarter inch XLR is just a lot more convenient, I think. So, but
Yeah, and tends to be cleaner, I think, too, at times. So
right.
that's cool. That's it, it's fun the amount of money you can put into this, and we've talked about that before. I know, but it's an immense amount of money, and just in microphones alone. I mean, like I said a minute ago, this one in front of me is a $400 microphone. Now I'm doing some other things with it other than a daily little podcast. I mean, I'm doing voiceover work, and they require some real clarity on some of that. And some of these commercial broadcast folks want it to be perfect digital audio, and
Right.
these mics give it to you. I mean, they do a good job with it.
Oh yeah, like that this one's great for that. I just picked up one of the Warm Audio 87s, that's supposed to mimic the U87 that costs $3,600. I'm not spending that
Yeah.
just to have it
No.
at the house.
Oh,
So yeah,
no.
this the Warm Audio is a fraction of the cost on that. But then, gosh, I've got so many microphones. My son counted all my microphones the other day when he was here, just for ones that I play out with. I mean, I've got 2 Super 55s. I've got a Beta 58 wireless. And then I've got a newer KSM9 wireless. I mean, and then I've got some different 57s just in case I need to mic a cab. And I've run into that situation where you get there and they're like, oh, I'm out of microphones or I'm out of whatever. And I'm like, that's okay, I've got one. And I always bring a spare. I always bring I got a Beta 87 that I bring to shows. It's a corded mic because I typically always, all my gear is just in a case. So I can walk in on stage, set it down. I got my ears, my microphone, my guitar, everything is just in one case. But if I've had it happen, something happens in the middle of a show, or you get too much interference. We played it a long time ago when I first joined Shadow Life. We actually played at Land of Illusion, and you're not allowed wireless microphones because their FM transmitter that transmits through the entire park of the sound and the songs and everything is actually above the stage. So you're not allowed to use wireless microphones. So I always carry extra microphones. So
Yeah, and it's interesting with the gear and to see people that come in, like how they pack their gear, and you can always tell. I hate to use the term pro, but I'll just say musicians that have longevity always pack their gear right, and they pack it up at the end of the night right, because the next time they get there they want it to be right where they can access it. And you can tell the new guy who wraps a cord around his hand and throws it in a box and those kind of things. Here's my guitar cable and I just wrapped it around my hand, and now it's going to come out of there looking like some sort of a slinky.
Yep.
And so on. But it's always neat to see how people carry their gear and pack their gear and how efficient they become, especially the folks who play 5 nights a week.
Oh, you have
because
to be.
they're just they're loading it in, loading it out, and they want to be as quick as possible. And they at the end of the night, part of the thing about a band or musician is you want to meet the people who came to see you too and chat with them a little bit. And you got to have an efficient way of packing that up and being able to pack it up while you're chatting sometimes, because everybody wants to come up at the end of the night and talk to you. And
This is true.
it's an interesting business, and the equipment, the more you take care of it, the longer it lasts. And I'm a firm believer in that. If you throw it around, you'll go through cables a lot.
It's true, and that goes for everything too. I mean, being the lead singer, I'm always trying to go out and talk to people, and I think we talked about that before. When I first started, I didn't go out and really talk to people, and everybody thought that I was stuck up or rude or arrogant or whatever. So I've always made it a point to go out and talk to people. And when we would have sound guys, I would come off the stage and I'd immediately go out and start talking to people. And the sound guys start tearing everything down, and they would just come up and say, before you leave the stage, can you at least put your guitars away? Because I'm wrapping up cables and trying to get out of here as quick as I can. And so after those conversations too, you kind of learn. I was the newbie back then, and now the last thing that comes out is after everything is set up and everybody's done. I look around, make sure everything's done. I get the guitars out of my case. And then the first thing that gets put away is the guitars get put back in the case. Pedals, everything else, they can all get wrapped up later. But put the guitars away so they don't get knocked over. And so it's out of everybody else's way. So,
Well, and so many people don't know what a guitar cost. A good guitar costs a lot of money. I mean, that's like your prized possession.
yes.
And and I've seen musicians, they get to drinking, and the next thing you know, at the end of the night, they lay their guitar down on the stage floor, and the next thing you know, somebody steps on the neck. I mean, it's just you've
Oh, I
seen it,
know.
and we're not talking a $400 Yamaha guitar. We're talking a Martin or
Right.
something like that. And it's like, why would you do that? But it happens, and we've got so much invested in this stuff, and everybody that was listening or is listening today, Geoff was talking in a lot of tongue there, and it's like if you're in the military, there's a book of acronyms, and sound has the same thing as we're talking about PR40s and SM58s and VR423 and all those things that people talk about, and it's a whole different language. And among the musicians in the sound community, people understand it. When we say our ears, we're not talking about our regular ears. We're talking about
Yep,
these little
these
things
little-
we're wearing,
Little
so we
things
hear.
here. So,
And yeah, and I got them in. He's got them in, and but they're comfortable and gives us a chance on stage to hear. And I used to wear ears at a lot of the shows I did production backstage on, because you want to be able to hear what the band can hear. And they have a talkback mic where they talk to the front of house, or they talk to their band members from the stage to say what they're going to do next or whatever, that nobody ever hears out in the audience, but you hear them in your ears. And that's kind of a cool part of it, I think.
Well, and it also actually it saves your hearing. So that's the biggest thing that drove
Mhm.
me to start wearing ears is losing hearing and all the tinnitus and everything else. So then you can control that. And some people will continuously crank everything up, even in their ears, which can make it even worse if you're wearing in-ear monitors, because then you're just piping that sound directly into your eardrum. So that's the one thing I've always done, is tried to keep it low. And depending on the stage volume, which is the nice thing with Route 88, we rarely use monitors or amps even. But these things have turned into really expensive earplugs. I've been on stage with some people before that it's gotten so loud, I just turn everything off. I don't even have anything coming through my ears.
Yeah.
They're just now expensive earplugs. So,
And those guys that played for years and years, that played with wedge monitors in front of them, and then now they go to the ears, and you're right, they have to crank those ears up because their hearing's just gone. And you can't have 1,000 watts blasting in your ear every night, and some of those guitar tones and all that that you hear the guys, especially the ones that play the Marshall stacks and some of those, it just gets blistering.
that's why I
loud.
always
And
joke and say, besides, my right ear is worse than my left ear. One, because I do all the driving, right? And that's where your wife sits. So you can't.
you better be nice to her. She bought you a
This
nice,
is true.
nice Christmas present.
But the guitarist, every band I've been in, the guitarist has always been on my right side. So, I mean, I've played with guys that will they'll melt your face off sometimes. They turn up so loud and they just keep cranking it up all night long. So,
and it's hell on a sound man, because the person who's doing sound, if you've got a loud guitar player, and that's usually the culprit on stage out of a cabinet, it's so tough, because then you're pumping the vocals up over that guitar, and the
It's
mix
just a
is so
ladder
bad out in
effect.
the middle.
it's just constant.
Yes.
They go up, then this has to go up, and then this has to. And I've had venue owners come up and say, "Hey, can you talk to your sound guy and tell him to, turn everything down?" And I've gone out, on break and said, "Hey, they say that we're actually too loud." And I'm like, everything needs to come down. And they're like, "Well, I can't go any lower. I've already turned the guitar off in the mains, and the only sound you're hearing is coming out of his amp, and everybody has to be equal or above him." So,
Right, and he's just cranking it out.
and you're,
I know it's brutal sometimes, and I always tell people, if you're going to start out on stage, it's better to start out softer and raise the level than it is to start out with this face melting solo loudness.
yes.
I love the guys that play pedals and have the right kind of pedals that can enhance their lead without the sound man having to bring it up or any of that. They do it with a foot pedal, and that always works really well, in my opinion. If the guy has learned it and knows when to bring it in. Rob Garrett from Until Rust, he's great at that and he's even playing acoustic.
Right.
But when he comes in with a guitar solo, he steps on that little button, which ups his level a little bit and really fattens up the sound and makes it sound like a lead. And then he goes right back to the rhythm part, and everything's good. So it's kind of cool. Lots of technology, my friend.
I mean, there's so many different things out there now. It's crazy. So, that was another gift I got. The wife got me a 2 Notes cab emulator that you can load. They're called impulse responses. So basically, you plug it into your computer and you say, "Oh, I want a Fender Blackface amp with this type of microphone with this." You can do all kinds of crazy. I haven't even really gotten it out of the box because we haven't been back in town that long. But that's basically what a lot of stuff is going to. A lot of the Axe effects or the Kemper. That's another one. All these amp modeling things that sound. Some of these things you can record your own amplifier and speaker, so you know what you like and you have it, and you're like, I don't want to bring that big thing out. I just want to bring this out. You can record it yourself, load it into that pedal, and you're off. And you have your guitar tone that you like so much right there at your feet.
And who's mastered some of that is Steve from Mad Hatter. Have you seen them play?
I don't think
if you've
I've ever
seen them play or not. Oh yeah, Steve's got it down, and they play all those '80s tunes and all the '80s rock. Go back in the '70s with some Zeppelin and all that, and he's got every tone built into this thing. I mean, when he plays guitar, it's like you're listening to the record, and he's got, I forget what the big pedal system's called, something with an H. Is it Helix or
Helix?
Helix, yeah. I mean, I think that's what he's using, and man, it's just a killer sound. And
that was one of the first things I started using.
Was it the Helix?
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't the Helix. It was kind of like its little itty bitty tiny baby. It was before the Helix, so it was the little Firehawk effects. I didn't have an amp. They needed me to start playing electric guitar, and so I bought that and tried to dial it in. And I didn't know enough about pedals or anything, and it was a nightmare, and I hated it.
I know. I was joking with you about Acoustapalooza. I don't know if it was the first year or second year about that, but we were talking stage plot and how the sound guy needed to be ready to hook this up and that up, and you had all this pedal stuff, and I said, Geoff, Acoustapalooza.
Yeah.
And because so many of the acoustic guys now have gone to these big pedal systems because they can make so many tones. I mean, I've heard guys play an acoustic sounding like an Eddie Van Halen eruption on the darn thing with the tones and things that come out of these foot pedals. But it's hard to break that stuff down once you get used to using it.
Oh.
And even the guys with the loopers and those kind of things, they get so ingrained into that when you tell them, oh, you're just going to play with a guitar on a little bar stool, they get a little nervous. They're like, no, I gotta have my support system.
Yeah, I've got a little pedal that I use for when it's 100% acoustic. It's called a fly rig. I mean, and it's a tiny little pedal. It's got a tuner built in. It adds a little chorus, reverb, whatever, and that's basically it. It's got a boost if you were to do a solo. I'm not doing any solos, so I never use it. And it's also an active DI, so you can go 1/4 inch or you can go direct out to the front of house, and it's a great little tiny pedal. It'll fit in your guitar case, really, and that's all I ever use when I do acoustic stuff. And my pedals now, even for electric, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I just, a couple of drive pedals, a couple of, chorus, delay. That's pretty much it. I like bare bones, simple sound, one sound all the time. I know those guys that do that. Every song that they play, they want to sound exactly like the record. And I've known guys who've brought out entire pedal boards to make that happen. And then also the guys who do like the Helix and that kind of stuff. So it's funny watching these guys bring these pedal boards out that are probably, 3 and 4 feet long. because they're playing all these 80s synthesizer tunes and stuff, and they have one pedal for one song, and it's on this ginormous board that weighs, you got to carry that to and from. No thanks.
Yeah, I know.
But
well, did you set a timer on this thing? I didn't. I don't know what we're doing.
Well,
how are we doing?
We're running in maybe 30 minutes or so. So maybe this is one we can split up into. Maybe this could be a 2-episode thing. So
yeah, maybe we can talk about getting in depth and see what the people want. If you guys want to hear about something or you're interested in talking gear, we'll talk gear.
Oh yeah, I could talk gear all day long. I could talk just microphones all day long. Different things like that. So. But
and in that that's a whole topic in itself, and then maybe we could talk acronyms and you were in the military. The book of acronyms.
Oh,
FEMA had one, Federal Emergency Management Agency, that I was a part of for years. Had a book. It was called the FAT List: FEMA Acronyms and Terms.
Yep.
And the FAT List was 600 pages long.
That might be
of nothing but acronyms.
See, we have our common acronyms. We had common acronyms in the military, and then it was basically whatever your job was. You also had acronyms, So, I mean, if you worked at the hospital, or if you were an ammo guy, or if you were security forces, right. Everybody has their own acronyms, and they don't all cross. But we had our generalized acronyms and everything together, but. And we could do this all. I could talk gear all day long, though, and different acronyms. And then the other thing is failures. Gear failures.
Oh, yeah.
When that happens in a live situation.
Yeah, and even in my stuff, I rely on a laptop with all my music on it, and it's a hard drive, which is got over 500,000 songs on it. Don't tell anybody. But those kind of things, if that fails, you're doomed. I'm going into a playlist on something, and so I try to keep a backup to everything I have. I'm sure you do too, in a way. I mean,
redundancy.
You have to when you're doing it.
It's all about redundancy. I've learned the hard way.
And then you just double the price of everything because you're buying two.
This is true. But I've had stuff go out on stage, and that was the worst ever when I was, again, back to the early days. I used to bring my own microphone, and I'm in the middle of a show, and the microphone decides it's done and quits working because I stepped on the cord one too many times. And then they're like, here you go. Here's a house mic. And I'm never again. And then that's when I went wireless and said, never using a cord again. So
cords are the devil when it comes to live shows, I think. I mean, I don't think I've ever done a production where we've done a big show that we didn't have some cord go bad somewhere. I mean, and even some new ones. I mean, you'd think, oh, they're not that old, but all it takes, like you said, somebody step on it wrong, or when they're, unplugging it at the end of the night instead of pulling on the actual plug,
right, yanking on it,
cord, things like that, and it's fun. So yeah, we could do a whole bunch of stuff about equipment, and maybe use some let the folks out there that aren't familiar with it know what the terms are in a music show too, because like front of house you mentioned earlier, and those kind of things, and those are all things people would probably like to hear about.
Right, and don't realize, they don't realize if you're using stage monitors and different things that we hear something totally different than what the audience hears when you're on stage. Mm-hmm. So
you hope,
right?
You hope that's what you're
right.
Yeah, I know.
So
and so often the ears are so good. I mean, now that's enhanced and improved stage sound so much, and being able to go direct without cabinets it really has helped, because then you are controlling your level into that, and the sound man out front is controlling the level to the audience of your guitar, versus you're controlling an amplifier on stage. It was like when we went to see Ted Nugent one time, man, it was so loud, and they had all these Marshall cabs, and I mean, it was stacks and stacks of that stuff, and he'd play the guitar and his hair would blow forward from the sound pressure coming from behind him. It was that loud, so it was just craziness. And
it's like Joe Bonamassa. Have you ever seen his setup?
Oh, yeah.
He said how he likes it. He likes it on 10, and he's got probably 10 different amps, and he cranks them all up, almost all the way up. So
Yeah, if it had an 11, he'd put it to
I'm
it
sure
on
he
those.
would. And it sounds great, a lot of stuff. But that's why I like using these little vintage amps with low wattage, because you can put it on 9 or 10, and it's actually not that loud, but you get a great sound out of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a different kind of
Well-
guitar player too. I'm more of just a rhythm guy and not doing big lead tones and different things like that. So
Well, we got lots to talk
we
about
do.
on Talk Around Town.
That's it. So
And we're going to try to bring some other people into the conversation here come first of the year,
yes,
right?
sir. Coming up. Hopefully we can.
That's going to
Hopefully
be
we
good.
can snag somebody to be on the next episode. So again, hit the
Yeah.
subscribe button and the bell icon so you're notified as to when we're going to be on, and hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you want to hear. We'll respond back. We'll talk to you. So hit us up on Facebook. You can hit Scott up Instagram, me on Instagram. You can find me on Route 88's Facebook page. Scott on the All Around Town
All Around
Facebook.
Town Radio on
So-
all your streaming platforms.
That's right. So
So we're good. We're trying to get that YouTube channel going. That's a tough one to get people to subscribe. So
it's
if
rough.
you're out there watching this, guys, go to our YouTube channels respectively. It's Geoff Edwards Music on YouTube.
It
right?
is. It's right now I
right
think
up
it's
there?
just Geoff Edwards. It actually wouldn't let me create
Okay.
a true name yet, so that will be coming. That'll be in the works, but
Yeah.
we will put the
So
links
try him on
everything.
YouTube, and try us on YouTube. We'd love to have you there because we're going to do some added programming on there as well. You may see some little fun stuff for only our YouTube subscribers. So that'll be good. And on our podcast, I'll get a shameless plug in, Geoff, before we go. Coming up weekly on Wednesdays, we're going to do Wednesdays with the band, where I'll be doing interviews with local bands and getting the inside scoop as to what goes on in their brains and what made their band come together, how they put it together, all some fun stuff, and just talk about different things that turn them on and turn them off. So we're looking forward to that on Wednesdays, kind of changing up our programming a little bit from the daily 5 o'clock hour show that we normally
Good
do.
deal. That'll be interesting. Can't wait to see that one.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. And I love sitting down with all the musicians and hearing their stories. And I think the people out there will love to hear it too. So look forward to it.
Sounds good. All right, everybody.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Happy New Year.
Year to you, Scott. Hope this new year's a little
Geoff.
bit better.
Me too. It's a pleasure talking to you, buddy. And hopefully we'll be able to do these together someday soon.
Hopefully so.
Sounds great.
All right. We'll see you, everybody.
Bye-bye.